Okay, let's dive right into this explainer by unpacking a scenario we see literally every single day, but we almost never stop to actually question it. Today, we're going to completely unpack the hidden financial reality of modern pickup trucks. It's this massive topic that affects millions of households, yet the brutal underlying math behind it is almost never talked about openly. I want you to picture a scene that is universally familiar to all of us. You know the exact setup. It's a Saturday afternoon in a packed Costco parking lot. A shiny, chrome-heavy pickup truck with perfect, factory-fresh paint backs into a spot. A guy steps out, opens up that massive tailgate, and what does he load into this absolute beast of a machine? Just a single case of bottled water and a giant bag of toilet paper. Yep, that is the entire haul for the day. Now, what's really fascinating about this cultural image we just painted is the hidden, incredibly brutal financial reality quietly destroying middle-class wealth right beneath that beautiful paint job. Think about it. That truck sitting in the parking lot likely costs more than his parents paid for their entire first house. So today, we are going to break down who can actually afford these vehicles without quietly turning their financial lives into a slow-motion car crash. First things first, we absolutely need to shatter this whole illusion of the $50,000 truck entirely. Let's look at the real number, $66,000. That is the actual average transaction price for a new full-size pickup going into 2026. That is what the typical buyer is actually driving off the dealership lot in. The $50,000 truck, yeah, that isn't the average anymore. It's practically the absolute floor. And look, even if you do somehow try to aggressively stick to that $50,000 budget, here is your reality. 50 grand no longer buys you a loaded luxury vehicle, not even close. The base prices for an F-150 XLT, a Silverado LT, or a Ram 1500 Bighorn are all hovering right under $49,000. But by the time you add in just the basic necessary options, the taxes, and those unavoidable dealership fees, boom, you easily cross that $50,000 mark. And that barely gets you a stripped-down cloth seat work truck. So what does this actually mean for normal people? Well, the median American household income right now is roughly $84,000 pre-tax. When you run the actual numbers, that means we are casually asking the average American family to spend a massive 60% of their entire pre-tax annual income on a single vehicle. A vehicle, by the way, that will lose about half of its value in just 5 years. Now, you might be wondering, how on earth are people actually paying for these things if they cost 60% of their income? Which brings us to the dealership's ultimate sleight of hand, the magic trick. When you walk onto that lot, the salesperson isn't going to ask what the total cost of the vehicle is or what you can genuinely afford overall. Oh no, they ask, so what kind of monthly payment are you comfortable with? That monthly payment focus is the magic trick they use to completely obscure the actual financial damage. And to pull off this little trick, dealerships stretch loan terms out to just absurd lengths, all to make that massive sticker price feel mathematically manageable on a month-to-month basis. The average new auto loan is already high, right around 69 months. But for trucks, a lot of those are stretched out to 78 months. And for buyers who are rolling over negative equity from their last truck, those loans often get stretched to 84 months. Guys, that is 7 full years of payments on a rapidly depreciating piece of metal. Let's just do the real math on that 84-month stretch. If you buy a $50,000 truck with zero down at an average 7% interest rate, your payment feels kind of reasonable at around $755 a month. But over the life of that loan, you are going to pay over $13,400 just in interest alone. You are essentially handing the bank enough cash to buy a whole other used economy car just for the privilege of spreading out your payments. We really have to separate two completely different concepts here. A bank deciding you are approved for a loan absolutely does not mean you can actually afford the vehicle. Being approved just means the bank's algorithm calculated that they can extract that monthly payment from you. It doesn't factor in whether you're going to have to skip your kids' dental appointments or literally eat ramen for 3 years to pull it off. The bank's risk tolerance is not the same thing as your family's financial stability. And to fully appreciate where we are as a society right now, just sit with this staggering statistic for a second. By the end of 2025, over 20% of all new vehicle buyers in America were saddled with a monthly payment of $1,000 or more. That means 1 in 5 new car buyers is basically paying a second rent just for the privilege of getting to and from their job. But wait, Because that loan payment is literally just the beginning. Let's peel back the layers of what actual ownership looks like. When you add in the fuel, the insurance premiums, the routine maintenance, those massive specialty tires you'll eventually need, and registration, the true monthly cost of operating that quote-unquote affordable base model truck rackets up to around $1,400 a month. Let's ground this in reality by looking at a typical middle-class family. We'll call them the Garcias. They make $90,000 a year, which is actually above the national median. They've got 2 kids. After taxes, their take-home pay has to cover rent, childcare, groceries, utilities, and now this massive $1,400 a month truck expense. At the end of the month, they have exactly $0 left over for savings, for investments, or for any kind of emergency. The math just completely traps them. Now, here is where the data gets, well, genuinely kinda hilarious. It reveals how these incredibly expensive machines are actually utilized out in the real world. According to extensive industry surveys, 90% of modern truck owners never use their vehicles for any kind of work. Literally never. They rarely tow, they rarely haul, and they basically just use them for shopping and running errands around town. Take a guy like Dave, for instance. He's an office manager who bought a massive truck thinking he'd finally get into all these rugged outdoor adventures. But in reality, his truck is fundamentally just a very gas-thirsty grocery getter. In 3 entire years of ownership, his cargo bed has seen exactly 3 things: a bag of mulch, a Christmas tree, and a $40 couch he found online. Dave is paying top dollar for a 4-wheeled performance of a rugged identity that he just simply doesn't live out. So, who should actually be buying these things? Well, traditional financial wisdom relies on what's called the 24-10 rule. To genuinely afford this $50,000 base model without financial stress, you need to put 20% down in cash, finance it for no more than 4 years, and keep your total transport costs under 10% of your gross income. To actually pull that off, you need to be in the top 15% of earners, making roughly $150,000 a year, with $10,000 in cash just ready to go. Now, let's bring this all together by comparing that $1,400 a month lifestyle against a much more boring but incredibly financially sound alternative. Imagine instead of that shiny new truck, you bought a totally reliable $20,000 used sedan. Think like a Toyota Camry. When you factor in the loan, insurance, and gas for the Camry, your total monthly cost drops down to about $700. That is exactly half the monthly cost of the truck. And this is exactly where the math gets genuinely life-changing. What happens if you take that $700 difference every single month and you just simply invest it? We're not talking anything complicated here, just a basic S&P 500 index fund that historically returns around 8% a year. You just set it, forget it, and let it compound over a 30-year career. That right there is the true cost of this driveway identity. That $700 a month invested over time turns into over $1.04 million. Let that sink in. The compounding opportunity cost of financing that truck instead of investing is literally the difference between retiring comfortably on your own terms and dying with a massive stack of bills. You see, the entire financial structure of America gently nudges you toward that dealership showroom because literally everyone in this chain profits immensely. The dealer makes their margin, the bank makes a killing on interest, the insurance company collects higher premiums, the gas station sells more fuel. They all make money. You are the only person in this entire equation who absorbs a devastating financial loss. So the very next time you find yourself staring longingly at a shiny new truck, before you go and sign a 7-year prison sentence of a loan for an identity you probably don't even need, I want you to stop and run the actual math. Ask yourself this one fundamental question. Can you really afford this, or have you just been told that you can? Because the absolute bravest financial decision you can make isn't buying the truck, it's choosing to have your wealth and freedom tomorrow over a bunch of chrome today. Let me know what you think about that.